What's up, Star Wars fans and action figure collectors? So, Darth Collector here with a Star Wars action figure review. So, in this review, we're going to be covering the Qui-GON Jinn and Opc Killer set from the Phantom Menace line. This is a really cool set. It's the only place where you can buy an Opc Killer, and we're going to start off with the accessories. So, the only accessory this set comes with is this spear that Qui-Gon presumably uses to fight the Opc Killer or fish or something. This spear is pretty similar to the one Luke uses in The Last Jedi, but I think most Star Wars collectors would have preferred a lightsaber just for the set, particularly because this spear is not seen in the movie, and a lightsaber is the weapon Qui-Gon generally wields and we're most familiar with him having. The spear is sculpted nicely, has no paint on it. It's all cast in black plastic, which is fine. We don't need paint on something like this. I personally don't use it in my displays or my dioramas, but you can totally do so if you want to. And like I said earlier, it looks pretty good as Luke's Last Jedi spear if you want to give it to him for that type of display. Moving on to the figures themselves. Starting off with the Qui-Gon figure, the only figure I guess I should say, we have a pretty decent figure. So I think if you zoom in here and look closely, the paint apps are decent. They're not perfect and they're not the best, but they're decent and they get the job done in this case. You can see his eyes are painted pretty nicely. But I don't think Liam Neeson actually has bright blue eyes like that. But it still looks fine on the figure. The sculpting, I think, is where it stands out more so than the paint apps. The paint apps aren't great on this. They're not that special. But the sculpting here is what makes this figure more special. You can see in the robe how some of this is all pretty sculpted nice. And you can see the face sculpture and how the rebreather is sculpted onto his face like that. I would overall consider this rebreather and actually a plus to this figure, even though it's permanently sculpted on. It'd be cool if it was removable, but in this line it's not that sophisticated of a line. It's not the vintage collection, so I'm not expecting anything like that out of this line. But for the case it actually is really nice, and it allows you to make some sort of display or diorama if you wanted to, featuring Qui-Gon underwater with a rebreather in, so it's more movie accurate. And I'm pretty sure this is the only Qui-Gon figure that actually lets you do so. For the cape, the plastic cape in this case I think works better than a soft goods one would. It's sculpted in such a way that makes it look like he's swimming, and this entire figure is actually, as you can see, like the hair and everything, it looks more just like he's swimming, and the cape does. And that's, I think, the whole point of this figure is to be like an underwater type figure. So granted, if you're going to have any dioramas underwater, I applaud you for that. If you can figure out how to make it work and get your figures underwater, then dude, go for it. I'm not doing that with this figure. I think I'm just going to keep him standing up and on the ground if I'm going to use him in any displays or anything. But it's a cool idea, and it could work if you execute it properly. Anyways, for articulation, this figure has swivel on the neck, swivel at each shoulder, swivel at the waist, a swivel at each hip, at least each top of each of his legs, except the movement on these is reduced greatly because of his tunic here, but it is there. And then he has two swivels as well on his feet. So overall, this figure has 7 points of articulation, I think. He has head, 2 arms, and then legs and his feet. And these feet are this way so that he can have a swimming motion for kids or something if they wanted to have him swim across a water or something like that. So I'm pretty sure that's why that's there. But yeah. Moving on to the Opc Killer, the main attraction in this set. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Opc Killer in the movie was one of the creatures that Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, and Jar Jar encountered in the depths of the Naboo oceans. Basically, he stuck out his tongue, latched onto their sub, and tried to eat him. But then the Sando Aqua Monster came in, and this is the guy that got eaten, that Qui-Gon refers to when he says there's always a bigger fish in the movies, a line that Obi-Wan actually later adopted himself. But anyways, moving on to the figure itself, the Opc Killer is actually magnificent with its sculpting and paint job. As you can see along its entire body, all the sculpting is very, very detailed, and all the little bumps and little divots inside of its skin are captured really nicely inside of the sculpt. You can see along the whole thing. And on these fins, all the sculpting on here gives it a nice texture and nice appeal. I really like it. Same with this side, it's pretty much identical. Down here, sculpting's great. I like the eyes too, especially with the paint job. The eyes look great. and all the detailed like overlaying of paint in here to give it this type of texture look and color. I really like that. And on these antenna like appendages, I want to call them antenna, I'm not sure if that's what they actually are. This figure does have one action feature, and I know occasionally Hasbro is famous for sometimes ruining these Phantom Menace figures with their action features, such as the Jabba the Hutt figure that spit water and a gong thing. Had a giant hole in its face, and it really ruins the whole figure's look. But this one, it's very subtle, and it works out really well, I think, for play and for collectors who want to display it. So right behind these is these three scales are a button, but you really can't tell that much just looking at it. And it looks pretty good, like blended in with the rest of it. Like just looking at it, you can't really see that much of a difference. So when you press it, it just opens its mouth. So basically in the mouth, you have also great sculpture, great paint as well. I guess there's not much paint in here, but it all looks really good. And you can see the tongue in there. That's what came out and stuck onto the sub. And 2 rows of teeth, which is a really nice feature. So the mouth is a really cool action feature for play. You could have it like swimming and eat Qui-Gon or something like that. So this is a cool set with action features, and they did a good job of not ruining it like they have in the past with some of their other Phantom Menace figures. Anyways, actually one more thing. Down here, the bottom of this, take note, this is a piece that does not come on the figure when you first open it, so you have to assemble this part. It's just all one piece, you just click it in there. It's very simple, very easy. Just take note of that, and none of these are articulated. For articulation, this Opc Killer only has the swivels in the jaw to open and close that, and then he has 2 ball joints on these fins here. And that's the only articulation in the entire figure. But it doesn't really need much more, and I think the figure rocks it with the minimal articulation that it has. Any more would be probably excessive, honestly, because you don't really need to move around the limbs or anything. So, anyways, thank you so much for watching this Darth Collector review. This is the first one on my channel. In the comments, if you guys wouldn't mind leaving me some feedback about how like the audio sounds and the quality, any improvements you think I could make. I'm kind of just getting started, and I want to try to get my quality like pretty good and make solid videos. And just tell me if you want to see more reviews or more bits of my collection, because I have tons of like pieces in my collection I could show you. I would love to show that off. But yeah, more reviews, whatever you guys want, and I'll do it. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day or night wherever you might be. Have a great day. May the force be with you always.